Let's talk about the PSA's 9 factors, how the assessment weighs each factor to predict the 3 outcomes, and how we arrive at a scale from 1 to 6. Here are the 9 PSA factors that the research showed, when used together, are the most predictive of 3 pretrial outcomes: failure to appear, FTA, new criminal activity, NCA, and new violent criminal activity, NVCA. Many other factors about accused people were tested by the researchers, and they either were not predictive of pretrial success and failure, or they were predictive but did not add any predictive strength to the 9 identified factors. That is, once information about these 9 factors is known, knowing additional information about the person did not increase the predictive ability of the assessment. As you can see, some of the PSA's factors are predictive of some of the PSA outcomes, but not all. For example, 4 of the 9 factors predict likelihood of FTA. Some of those same factors, as well as others, predict NCA or NVCA. Pending charge predicts all 3 outcomes. Here we see for the FTA scale how the relevant factors are weighted and scored. For the FTA outcome, 4 factors are measured: pending charge at the time of arrest, prior conviction, failure to appear in past 2 years, and failure to appear older than 2 years. 3 of these items are scored as 1 point if the answer is yes, and 0 points for no. 1 item is scored as 0, 2, or 4 points, depending on the number of recent prior failures to appear. The weights come directly from the statistical analyses used to develop the PSA. The way to think about points is they are indicators of the likelihood of the outcome occurring. The higher the points, the greater the likelihood. So after these 4 factors are scored, the total points are added together. That raw score, or sum, is converted to a scaled score that goes from 1 to 6. A FTA scaled score of 1 indicates the lowest likelihood of FTA, and a scaled score of 6 indicates the greatest. Now let's look at the NCA scale. 7 factors contribute to the NCA score. Like with FTA, some factors are scored as yes or no, and other factors count the number of instances. You can see that the factors have different weights, depending on the answer. For example, 3 points are scored if the person has a pending charge at the time of the arrest. 1 point is given if the person has a prior felony conviction. Remember that the higher the weight, the greater the likelihood of that outcome occurring. As with FTA, the total points are summed and then converted to a scale score of 1 through 6, with a scaled score of 1 indicating the lowest likelihood of NCA and a score of 6 indicating the greatest. Finally, let's look at the NVCA scale. Getting to the raw score is similar to how FTA and NCA is scored. These 5 factors are scored and the points are added. However, unlike the FTA and NCA scales, the researchers determined that reporting the NVCA score made the most sense as a flag rather than as a score between 1 to 6. So, if a person receives a total number of 0 to 3 points, they do not receive a violence flag. If the points add up to 4 or more, the person receives a flag. The flag indicates an elevated likelihood of being arrested pretrial for a new violent offense. In the next section, we will learn more about what each of these scores tell us about a person's likelihood of pretrial success or failure.